and as soon as it began, we find ourselves smacking into the end of the first 50. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that there's no way that the next 50 could be better than this one. Well, you're bloody wrong. Looking at this list, though, I'm struck by how good these games are. I've decided that there are two possibilities here. Either I just have the most refined and exquisite taste of anyone in the world of games, or that I'm in some sort of deluded fugue state where I've convinced myself of something that can't possibly be true. Leave a comment down below and let me know. Now, without further ado, I bring you... I've got a lot of time for cynicism. What I don't have a lot of time for is this current vogue for everything to be safe, respectable and comforting. Ted Lasso, for instance, makes me so bloody angry with all of its syrupy nonsense. Also, they repeatedly get the bastard football wrong. I want my art to reflect the venal arseholes that we actually are, and Corrupt Parliament succeeds in that brief. In Corrupt Parliament, we take on the roles of slithering politicians in a neon-drenched cyberpunk dystopia, seeking to line our pockets in any way we can. We all start with vested interests and try and use our lofted positions to make those interests pay. We do this by forming unstable alliances with the other slime bags around the table. What's so great about Corrupt Parliament is that it growls with a cynicism that has teeth. There are none of the pillowy bourgeois constraints of niceness here. The game is grotesque and unvarnished and great fun. It's no wonder that art in the 2020s has become toothless and pastel-coloured, when people with genuine grievance have been priced out of creating it, with the only political voices being heard a narrow tranche of the permanently outraged upper middle classes, bemoaning the fact that someone over there earns 120 grand a year when I only earn 110. The kind of deaf and dumb entitlement that can only come out of the mouths of those who've always got what they wanted. Corrupt Parliament comes out of a society that seemingly isn't hopped up on their own moral immaculateness and wants their art to reflect this blighted globe that we walk on every day. It doesn't hurt that it's a really good game too, and if you like vociferous negotiation, you'll love Corrupt Parliament. This is just one of those brilliant Euros that puts its mechanisms front and centre and, as a result, presents you with an experience that trucks along and leaves you feeling extremely satisfied at the end. There are none of those globbed-on mechanical accretions of the modern Euro game here either. This is a game that is not in love with innovations or heaviness, it just wants you to have a really good time figuring it out. Also, there is none of the box full of dildos nonsense here. The components aren't important. The game is, and that focus pays off. It's one of those games that has a brilliant arc. And when you start, it seems impossible that you will ever score any points. Those tracks are so long and you're so far down them. But the engineering here is very clever. As you progress through the game and your turns start to have more import, you start to reel those scoring conditions in, and the path through the game reveals itself. Also, this is a game that rewards repeated play, as it feeds you little heuristics on the way. If you like a game that harkens back to a time when Kickstarter didn't demand that a game come out of the gate with a warehouse full of expansions, and that a sleek design that delivers a great experience should be the whole of the thing, then you should really give Heaven and Ale a go. There is another Lord of the Rings game higher up this list, but if you want a cheapish game that bursts with all of that wonderful Lord of the Rings flavour, well, you could do a lot worse than this one. I was highly trepidatious when I bought this at Essen last year. I just so wanted it to be good. I absolutely adore The Lord of the Rings, and the possibility of a portable game that could transport me to Middle-earth really appealed. Thank God it's great. There is real attention to detail here. It really feels like Lord of the Rings, and like all good games, the theme doesn't emerge from globs of badly written flavour text on the cards. Its theme is rooted in its mechanics. I love things like Theoden only gains his power when he's paired with Gandalf, and that Gandalf himself transforms into a true martial character when he dons his white mantle. What throws this game into this list, though, is that it's a true team experience. The decks are tailored so that the teammates need each other to fulfill their potential, and without working together, you have no chance of winning. So many games advertise themselves as a team game, but just cut a 2-player game into 4 bits and ask you to stomach it. Not War of the Ring, the card game. Get 3 mates, play this one. You'll love it. I was not a great fan of Season 2 of this series. It became bogged down with too many mechanisms and the story just didn't connect. Also, it had the most obvious twist imaginable. Then they released Season 0, and this is, without doubt, the best of the lot. For a mainstream thriller plot, the setting of the Cold War and espionage works so well. This is the kind of Le Carré-esque atmosphere that has you turning this way and that way, trying to divine who's your ally and who's your enemy. You get bombarded with discoveries every play, and the story slams its hooks into you and won't let you go. Not only this, but the mechanical revelations are pulled straight out of the top drawer and are so well integrated that one element couldn't survive without the other. It's also the perfect prequel too. It explains so much from the subsequent games and drops all of those wonderful Easter eggs that reward you for having played the other games in the series. It is no collection of nods and winks though. It's a bloody good yarn. Although Pandemic will always have a place in my heart, I got burned out on the base game years ago. But Pandemic Legacy Season 0 makes the Pandemic system utterly fresh again. It makes a classic even more classic. I would recommend playing these games in the order they were released, and when you eventually get to this one, it'll blow your socks off. This really is the acme of game design, and I love it. I am about to shamefully contradict past Ben here. What I don't have a lot of time for is this current vogue for everything to be safe, respectable and comforting, but I became very affectionate with my hypocrisy a long time ago. This game is just so safe, respectable and comforting, and I love it. I have no idea what being a painter in the Middle Ages was like, but it can't have been half as nice as this. There was all that ague for a start. Your workers get grumpy if you make them get up too early too many days in a row, so you have to let them have a lie-in. Then there's the joy of slowly revealing the eponymous Fresco as the game goes on. This is a game from slap bang in the middle of the Golden Age, and it shows it. Everything is just so restrained, mature and thematic, and the little expansions add tantalising wrinkles but don't slather on a load of complication. It was these light to medium Eurogames that really drew me into the hobby, and I have a real affection for this one. When you play it, it feels as fresh as the day it was published and reminds you that great art is something that bequeaths joy down the generations. That is such a gift. Fresco is such a gift. Bloody hell, Shem Phillips knows how to design games, and his success is something of a unique story in the hobby world. A working class guy from New Zealand, he's managed to create one of the most well-regarded game companies in the industry by relentless quality and hard work. Board gaming is such a middle-class pursuit that someone who isn't from a white-collar background, well, is something of a unicorn. And with Wayfarers of the South Tigris, he has produced his best game yet. Most of his games hover around light to medium, but this one sits proudly in the category of midweight Euro and pulls off this weight perfectly. This game has all of the mechanical faffery of a Silver Age Eurogame, but manages to tie all of these disparate parts together. The card play is challenging and innovative, and the journey along the knowledge track is so satisfying when you pull it off. Being an old cynic, it's rare that I get blown away by a new game, but Wayfarers blew my socks off to the other end of the room. It's just so good. It engages you all the way through and drenches your brain in all those wonderful chemicals as a reward for your endeavour. If there is any release from last year that should be at the top of your acquisition list, it's this. It's an instant classic. I feel like I've spoken about this game a lot. I feel like I've spoken a lot about how funny it is, and while that's definitely true, I'm going to take a different tack here. If for no other reason, then it'll save a portion of my ever-dwindling sanity. Last Will is a brilliantly designed game. Vladimir Suchy's games have been ramping up in difficulty since he went out on his own, but this is my favourite of his designs because it's just so well put together. The cards are brilliantly tooled cogs and camshafts that help you to get your engine to run as well as possible, because that's what Last Will is, a fabulously designed engine builder. If you choose the right cards to place in your tableau, you can let your engine run every turn and wonder at the unique little bit of temporary engineering you've put together. The instant cards act like small bursts of nitro that can make you shoot ahead at just the right moment. Age hasn't withered this game, and you should really give it a go if you get the chance. This is my second favourite social deduction game, and the only one out of the top two that is remotely practical. This is the game that brought social deduction to the people. The rules are crystalline in their simplicity, and it delivers an experience in only 45 minutes. The first games I really played a lot when I got into gaming were social deduction games, and Avalon was the one I played the most. Whole evenings playing this again and again, hurling accusations at unsuspecting randos. I truly think, in terms of design, social deduction hasn't been bettered. There's one I like more, but it isn't as well designed. This game is so balanced and so suspicious in just the right ways. Yes, the first round tends to play out the same way every time, but as the game progresses, it becomes a real joy to see how deceitful people can be. Of all the genres of games, I think social deduction, and especially Avalon, blows people's minds when they first play them. This genre is the one that's least like the conventional picture of the roll and move board game. And it's so easy to play because it leverages natural human interactions to propel it along. Of all of the gateway games, I think this could be the most gateway-y, as it's such a laugh and it makes you curious to see what this weird little niche has to offer. This is such an impractical game. It only really shines at huge player counts and takes a couple of drinks to really enjoy, but it highlights how indebted games like Blood on the Clock Tower are to this one, the original. I used to throw huge gaming parties, and we would always play this as the last game of the night, when people's eyes were looking in opposite directions, and it was always the perfect way to top the night off. Sure, it's rough on the first person eliminated, but I think Werewolf might be the only board game that is truly a spectator sport. I love being a spectator. The dramatic irony in this one is real, and it's hilarious to see the way people plot and scheme and deceive the other players. Werewolf is a real occasion game, a game that tells a brilliant story. It is the source from which a whole genre was born. This is my favourite social deduction game because it's such an event, every time. I love having a couple of beers and watching this game play out. There's nothing better. There's a few Uwe Rosenberg games on here. This is not one of his very best, but the central card mechanism is great. Reveal a card, and if it's unique, you get to do more. This results in wonderful doublethink as you try to pick apart the intentions of the other players around the table. Also, Uwe Rosenberg manages to cram things into his games that are so elegant and so clever. The resource wheel here is its own brilliant little machine. The way it produces certain goods automatically is mind-blowing. I play his games and have no idea how he could come up with so many good ideas. He builds games that are little miracles. Part of the reason I love certain designs and designers are the way that their minds work, and that's so far out of my conception that the designs seem like magic. Uwe Rosenberg is one of these designers, and although Glass Road is a minor work for him, for 1,000 other designers this would be their magnum opus. I mean, wait till I get to the Rosenberg designs I really love.
You run the shuttle free on Avalon.
Well, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, you can like the video. If you really liked it, you can subscribe to see the rest of these videos, and I'm going to America soon, so there's going to be a video about that too. And if you want to be like one of these lovely people, you can back the channel at patreon.com/5G4D. I mean, it really does help these videos get made. Also, if you want to chat with me and loads of cleverer people than me, you can join the Discord. The link is down below. Now, I'm off to go and waddle in my own crapulence.